Alright guys, so we were just out trying a new spot with our trucks, and what would you say, Johnny? About 15 minutes in, started hearing some weird noises coming from my truck. We both kind of thought it was either the gearbox or it was going to be the overdrive diff that I put in the front, or the brass ring gear that's still in the rear diff. The ring gear and the worm gear in the front is hardened steel. I believe the ring gear in the back, are those hardened steel?
I think
It's just steel, huh?
yeah, I think it's regular steel.
Yeah, I think the worm gear in the back, the OEM worm gear, I think that's just regular steel, not hardened. But the ring gear that's in the rear diff is brass. And I just replaced that, and then I blew out the front diff for the first time on the front diff. I blew the rear diff 2 times already. Did the front diff right with a Trill overdrive hardened steel. And then we started hearing these noises when we were out running our rigs right now. And we were thinking the worst. It could be the gearbox or, you know, a numerous amount of things. But upon teardown, I just removed my axle shafts, the rear, the front, which would, you know, connect down to the other pieces, or the male piece of the rear axle and the male piece of the front axle, or of the diffs, and gave it a little blip of the throttle and was still hearing it. So I took out my LCG battery tray and it was still making the noise, so I kind of looked in there and looked at the pinion, and the pinion looked okay from what I could see. So I thought maybe it was the gear mesh, so I started messing with those bolts, and eventually I just took them all the way out and I pulled the motor out. And as soon as I slid the motor out, this is what I seen right here. That pinion is gone. It's completely rounded. There's nothing on there anymore. There's just like tiny little nubs, and I'm surprised it was catching and it was climbing. But where's my gearbox at? Oh, see if I can adjust this light over here. So when I got this brushless setup, it comes with this hardened steel. What is this gear? Spur gear? It's not spur gear. It's just a gearbox gear. But it sort of cupped my hardened steel gear with that brass one just kind of spinning across the top with no teeth. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to find a hardened steel pinion gear. And if they don't make them, then I guess I'll just buy like 5 or 6 brass pinion gears. What do you think, John boy?
Yeah, hopefully make a steel one, because if not, you're doing this every 10 runs.
Yeah. Well, it's held up actually since I got the brushless system.
Well, you had to reset it once. It started showing wear back then.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah, but how many runs do you think I got out of it before it did this?
A good 30 runs.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. I mean, there's so much weight on here that, you know, if these are so cheap, I don't mind buying 5 or 6 of them. I'll have to order them in a little bit. But the thing that really sucks with this is you would think like, oh, well, why don't you just flip it over? Well, the grub screw, the head of the grub screw sticks out into the grooves of the splines. So you can't really do that, and I figure if I file it down, my Allen head won't really have anything to grab to tighten it down to, or break it loose once I Loctite it. So that'll just be stuck on there. So flipping it around is not really an option. That kind of sucks. All right. Well, to be continued. We'll have to run the other rigs. We'll run your rig and the mild modded C10 next.